Hi, welcome to 90% Knitting. This is episode 138, and I'm Lisa, your host, also known as Fiber Nymph on Ravelry, Plurk, and Instagram. Today is Thursday, October 30th. We are almost through with October. Tomorrow's Halloween, so if you celebrate Halloween, have fun, be safe. Don't throw eggs at my house tonight. It seems like every year somebody does. We don't even have that many kids in the neighborhood anymore, but for years, like every year, somebody would egg us. Drives me crazy. But anyway, I guess that would be tonight. Isn't tonight Devil's Night, the night before Halloween? I kind of think it is. Anyway, all right, let's get started. Nobody introduced themselves on the 90% Knitting board since I recorded last, so I'll just say a general hello to anyone who is new, who's watching, and if you are watching and have been for a long time or just started and you'd like to introduce yourselves on our welcome board, please feel free to do so. It's the 90% Knitting board on Ravelry, and if you search for it, I think you have to search 90-knitting in the groups, otherwise it doesn't show up. I don't know why, but it doesn't. Or you can just go to my page and there's a link to it from there. That would be Fiber Nymph. Okay, let's start talking about knitting, and obviously I have a finished object to show you. I've finished my Chandail sweater. Yay! Actually, I finished it this morning. The actual knitting part I finished, I think, on Sunday. Sunday or Monday. I don't remember. Because all I had left at that point was the collar band. I was working on it Saturday night because my middle child, Christopher, he came over and we had a pizza and movie night, just the two of us, which was really nice because we don't get to do that very often, and then he spent the night. But while we were watching the movie, I had started working on the collar band, and I picked up all the stitches. I thought I did anyway, and I knit about 4 or 5 rows, and I was getting ready to do the row with the button band. And as I got around to here, like right at this point here, I realized this whole section was not picked up. I don't know what happened as I was picking up all the rest of them. I got to here and I thought, oh, I guess I'm done. And I started just doing all the knitting. Crazy. So I realized that 5 rows in, and that was a lot of stitches to pick up. So I pulled the needle out, ripped it all out except for the actual picked up row. I tried to keep that in there so that I didn't have to do all that picking up again, and carefully got the needle back in all those picked up stitches, and then I picked up the remaining stitches, and then I sat the whole sweater down because I didn't even want to look at it at that point. So I don't remember if I worked on it at all on Sunday. I may have just let it have a timeout that day, but then I think maybe Monday. I may have finished it Monday morning. I don't remember now, but anyway, I finished all the knitting. I got the button band, or the collar band done. The button bands were already finished, so all the knitting was done. All I had to do was weave in ends and add buttons, which is what I did this morning. I did that part, so it is completely finished. I'm going to stand up and back up so that maybe you can get a better view of the whole thing. I have not done any blocking, and the only thing I kind of think I could block are the button bands so they don't do the up thing, but I kind of like them doing that. I don't know why. It's very symmetrical. So anyway, that's that. It's a little longer than it really needed to be, but that's okay. I don't mind. I love the sleeves, the cables. So, and the sleeves definitely turned out longer than they needed to be. But I can roll them up, and then if it's really cold and I want to roll them down, I can do that too, because I kind of like when my sweaters do that. So, all right, let me sit back down here. Overall, I would say I am really, 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 really happy with this sweater and how it turned out. Aside from that one snafu with not picking up all of the stitches for the collar band, I did not have any problems with this sweater. It went flawlessly. The pattern was really well written. It's Chandail by Triona Murphy, and Chandail is Chandail. I knit it out of my Fiber Nymph Dye Works Cozy Base, which is worsted weight superwash worsted in the Sunken Treasure Gold colorway on US 7s. I dyed 8 skeins for the project, and I was alternating skeins the whole way through, which is what you should do when you're using a hand-dyed yarn, just to keep any weird pooling from maybe happening, especially with like a semi-solid like this. And in the end, I ended up with like 2 half balls left, and I weighed them this morning, and it was like about 115 grams, so just over 1 skein, but it still worked out perfectly because I needed that much in order to be able to alternate skeins the whole way through the project. So perfect amount of yarn. The pattern was really well written, as long as you read ahead and, you know, pay attention, because there's some places where you're doing more than one thing at a time, which I didn't really mess up anything. I did not miscross any cables and not notice it for, you know, rows and rows. I've done that before in other projects, and that's always very disheartening. My modifications, if you remember, I started, because it's a bottom-up one-piece dealio, I started with the larger size, and then when I got to the upper bust, like the armhole upper bust area, I switched to the next size down. I had done enough decreases that I could make it a little smaller, and I'm really pleased with that because it definitely does fit better in the shoulders than some other sweaters I've made. So going down like that was definitely a good idea. I think I probably could have even gone down a needle size and maybe made it even just a little bit more snug, because the only thing I'm not super crazy about is how the collar fits. It's definitely more open than I would like. I'm not complaining about that, because obviously, like, when it gets cold, I could wear a turtleneck or, you know, something higher up. I'm just never sure what kind of top to wear under sweaters that fit like this, that come out so far on the shoulders and actually in the back. I don't know if you saw it when I turned around. I mean, the sweater comes down probably a good 4 inches from the base of my neck. So it's sort of open. So I'm going to be a little, you know, if it's cold, the back of my neck will be chilly. But it is a scoopy neckline, and if you look on the actual pattern page and go through all the pictures, you see a wide variety of how these have turned out. Some people, they're up much closer. Others, they're even wider set than what mine is. So I'm happy with it. I think I'll get a lot of wear out of it. I think the only thing left that I will do probably is I've not reinforced my buttonholes. I often do a little chain stitch around my buttonhole to reinforce it. I think I'll do that. And I may do a chain stitch kind of across the back part of the collar band, like right at that edge where they got picked up, just to help support it so that it doesn't want to drift down towards my shoulders. Because being a one-piece bottom-up cardigan, that's the only thing about doing, you know, the one-piece raglan kind of deals is it doesn't quite have the same structural integrity as a sweater that's knit in pieces and then seamed together. Those seams help hold things together and give it more structure. So a lot of times when I knit a sweater like this, I will do some crochet reinforcement just to give it a little bit more stability. So I may do that yet. I haven't decided. Like I said, just finished it this morning, and thankfully I had the buttons in my stash. It's very rare that I do not have buttons in my stash that I can use for projects. I have a huge button stash. When I worked at the LYS and she was closing, I bought a ton of buttons at that point, and I've since added to that. Everywhere I go, I feel like I'm buying buttons, but these are the ones I used. It was actually a card that had 4 of them. So I used 2, and if I can get them to, there we go. They are a ceramic button, and I bought this at Mid-Ohio Fiber Fair, or Fiber Festival, in August of 2013 when I was vending there. And the vendor was Green Mountain Studio, who is Kelly Caps Lawrence from Athens, Ohio, according to her little label here. And she does have a web address there, so it's www.greenmantlestudio.com. I've not been on that website, so I don't even know if it's still active, but I hope it is. Her buttons were beautiful. I bought this card of them, and I think I bought another one that I just had like one really big button on it that I've not found a use for yet, but it's really, really pretty. So yeah, this was actually a really nice matching button. I mean, it's not at all the same color as the yarn, but it coordinates really, really well with it, and I like how it turned out. So I am pleased. The yarn, even though it's the Sunken Treasure Gold, it has that greenish cast to it. Like, I mean, I think it looks really good with this green shirt I've got on underneath it. So the green embellishment on the brownish, reddish brownish button, I don't know, that I just dropped. I think it worked out really well. So again, it's all a win. I'm very pleased with the sweater. I'm pleased with the pattern. My yarn worked great, so it's all good. And this is now finished, which means I can be knitting full force in my Christmas knitting. And that's actually what I have been really doing this week. I may or may not leave this sweater on the whole time I talk. It's a little bit warm, and I have poison ivy on my arms. I know, both of them. I'll tell you more about that later, but yeah, anyway, the sweater might start to bother it, so I might have to take it off. Anyway, let's talk about my Christmas knitting, because it is now Christmas knitting season. And I'll tell you what, for me, this is really early for me to start my Christmas knitting. Most of the time, if I do Christmas knitting, I start in December, because it'll be like December and I'll be like, huh, I was going to knit something for Christmas for somebody. And then I decide to start it, and I'm, you know, it's crazy in December. You don't want to wait till December to start your holiday knitting. So anyway, I'm getting a jump on it starting in October. I'm really babbly today. Sorry. Okay, so the first one, which I showed you last week that I had started, is the Christmas gift afghan. Now, I have to tell you, most of the Christmas gift things that I'm knitting, I had originally told you were kind of going to be secret knitting, because a lot of the people that I knit for are people who watch my podcast, or at least watch it sometimes, and I don't want to spoil the surprise. So for a lot of these projects, I'm not going to say who they're for, because you don't really need to know that. You just want to see the knitting, right? But what I will do is I will show you the projects, because if I don't show you the projects that I'm knitting for Christmas, I'm going to have very little to show you in the month of November and December probably. So we'll work with that. Anyway, the Afghan I did talk about, and I told you that is for my son Christopher, because I know he does not watch my podcast. I started that last podcast. I had the first square on the needles, and let's see, which one was it? I think it was maybe this one. I don't know. And this is what I'm knitting this out of, the Katia Azteca yarn, which is an Aran weight yarn. It's a single ply. It is a superwash. I'm loving this yarn. It is 50% superwash wool, 50% acrylic. It really is a pleasant yarn to work with. I love it. It's soft. It doesn't feel at all squeaky like some acrylic blends can feel. Nothing like that. It's gorgeous. So I did finish the first one and the second one. I am able to get 2 squares out of a ball. I was very relieved. And it's funny, my second one is actually a little bit smaller than the first. I think my tension was tighter, because when I weighed the ball after I knit the first square, I had used exactly half the ball. Exactly. By weight, anyway. And so when I was finished with the second one, it ended up being a little smaller. I think I was unconsciously knitting at a tighter gauge, trying to get through the yarn without running out, because I was just afraid I might, which I didn't. I actually ended up with a little bit left over. So anyway, I'm happy I can get 2 squares out of a ball of yarn. So that was the first ball, and then another one. So there's so much fun. I love doing mitered squares. And again, this is just a generic mitered square pattern. It's my own kind of thing I've worked out based off of other mitered squares. I do have notes in my project page, so if you want to look there, I have notes about what I'm doing if you're interested. But so far, so good. I'm on track, because I think I said I need to get like 2 done a week, and I mean, this has been less than 2 weeks and I have 3, so I'm definitely on track with that, and I think that'll go really well. yeah, so I'm happy with that, having fun with those. I started 2 different pairs of socks that will be gifts. So the first one is in this nifty little bag that my friend Bonnie brought back from me from Australia. She just recently went to New Zealand and Australia. Bonnie is the one who used to own the yarn shop that I worked at, and then she retired and sold her shop, or didn't sell it, she closed her shop, and now she helps me out. So she's my designated ball winder. So if you ever buy any self-striping or gradient yarn from me, chances are really good that she has touched your yarn at least once, if not twice. So Bonnie is an invaluable part of Fiber Nymph Dye Works. At any rate, she brought me back this cute little bag from her trip. It's got kangaroos and Australia written on it. So anyway, in here I've got this sock. Yes, it is a Nyan Cat sock. I've had a couple skeins of Nyan Cat that I had set aside and kept for myself from way back at the beginning when I first started dyeing it, because they kind of got messed up in spots, more so than I felt comfortable selling like that. So I kept them, and I was going to, you know, knit them for personal use. But I didn't want to start knitting Nyan Cat socks while I still had people on the waiting list waiting for this yarn, because I just thought that was kind of mean and cruel and unfair. And since it took me so long to get through the waiting list for this yarn, I, you know, obviously haven't started them, but I did now. So I've got one Nyan Cat sock on the needles, and it's fun. And this is actually the first time I have ever knit anything out of my bedazzled base. I've not done sparkly before, so it's fun from that aspect too, that I'll have something sparkly that I've knit. Although, you know, it's a gift, so I won't be using it like on my table or anything as a sample. But that's okay. So it's coming along. There it is, wound up. I'm basically going to do just my regular 6-inch cuff. I'll be doing an afterthought heel, because this has the coordinating, well, contrasting really, navy blue yarn that comes with it for the heels and the toes. So I'm going to do an afterthought heel in the navy blue, and I'll do the toe in the navy blue when I get down to that. So, but that's how it's going so far. Plain vanilla sock. I actually made the cuff a little longer than the ribbed part longer than I usually do, because I wanted to do an entire repeat of the striping pattern. So I've got all the pink, and then the first band of gray, then the rainbow colors, then the second band of gray, and then that pattern starts again. So that's a little wider than I usually do, but I like it that way. So, all right, so that's the first gift pair of socks. And then the second gift pair of socks I started, this is, oh, and I didn't, well, obviously it's my Nyan Cat colorway on the bedazzled base. I'm using US 1.5, so that's kind of my go-to sock needle for fingering weight yarn. The second one I'm also using that same needle size, the US 1.5s, and this is Leading Men Fiber Arts in the Showstopper base, and this is the colorway Sucker Punch. And I'm just doing a plain vanilla sock, but these will be short socks. So here we have the ribbed cuff and a little, about that same amount of sock, and then I've started a heel flap. So rather than doing an afterthought heel in this one, I'm just doing a traditional heel flap and the rest of the foot, and that will be that. But that's my second gift sock, so it's coming along, and it's not in a bag yet. I love how their yarns pool. I've knit other socks from them, and they always make me really happy. This is the one side, how it's turning out, and then this is the other side. So I love how that gray is kind of pooling, and then you've got the purple and, I don't know, I'd say maybe a rose kind of pink, a deep rose. It's kind of doing a little stripey thing. So I think it looks really cool. Loving it. So those have been the projects that I have been working on. I feel like that's been a lot, considering how much I've also been dyeing and doing stuff around the house. So I'm pretty happy with that productivity, knitting wise. So okay, let's see. What should I tell you about next? Oh, the head to toe knit along. We're almost done. Today's the 30th. Tomorrow is the final day for getting your knitting done for both the October project, which is legs and feet, and for your full body object. It has to be, the knitting has to be finished by midnight tomorrow your time. You'll have through Saturday the 1st to put pictures up. Then I'll close both of those threads, and I will do the drawings for both October and the full body object, and the drawing for anyone who did all 4 months plus the full body object. So there will be 3 drawings for the head to toe knit along when I record the next time, which hopefully will be next week, because I don't want to keep you guys waiting too long. Anyway, I'm so pleased at how well this knit along has gone. You guys really, really got into it, and I've gotten so many nice notes from you all just saying how much you've enjoyed doing this knit along, how much fun you've had, and you know, some of you have really like challenged yourselves to try to get all 4 months projects done plus a big item. So thank you for your participation. I love the enthusiasm. It's been great, and I've so much enjoyed going through everybody's pictures as they post them. I've got a whole bunch to go through probably later today. I haven't done them in a couple of days, just because I am going through to verify that they've been knit within the time frames that they need to be knit. But anyway, I love seeing them all, and it's been a lot of fun. And I'll just, as a little reminder, if any of these things that you're knitting for these knit-alongs, if you've finished them in the 4th quarter, you know, starting in October, and they're done out of my yarn, Fiber Nymph Dye Works yarn, please also go over to that board, the Fiber Nymph Dye Works board, and post them on the finished object thread, the 4th quarter finished object thread, because you can be entered in that drawing that'll happen at the end of the year, so that I do quarterly, hence the 4th quarter drawing. Anyway, that's totally unrelated to the head to toe knit along, but I just thought I would throw that out there. Let's see. So yes, this one is drawing to a close. It went really well. Thank you so much for that. And I mentioned last week about what our upcoming knit along will be for November and December. It's not nearly as involved as what the head to toe one has been, because it's wide open. You can knit whatever you want, as long as it's going to be for a gift, because that's what I'm calling it. It's the Giving KAL, K-A-L, which it's not just knitting. It can be knit, crocheted, spun, or woven, or felted. As long as it is a gift that you're giving away, either as a gift to someone personally or for charity. It doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, a Christmas gift. It could be a birthday gift. It could be, you know, whatever kind of gift, as long as you're not knitting it for yourself, and you're knitting it for someone else. Let's see. Yes, okay, I'm sorry, I'm reading down, making sure I'm trying to tell you all the information. Any of those items to qualify for that knit along, they have to be started on or after November 1st, so nothing that you're working on now is going to be able to qualify. But starting anything on Saturday onward, that'll be great. And it has to be finished on or before December 31st to qualify for that knit along. You can go ahead and use the tag 90K Giving if you want to tag your items on Ravelry or on Instagram. You can do that. So I have a thread up in the Ravelry in the 90% knitting board. I have the thread up already explaining the KAL. It says November, December Giving KAL. So it's got all that information that I just told you. That's there. The other part of this, which I explained last week, is going to be a weekly thing where we were going to be doing 9 weeks of giving. And it's basically just a random act of kindness kind of thing. For me, I love the idea of random acts of kindness. And, you know, this is just a chance as we come to the end of the year, you know, we're thinking about other people, you know, like we have Thanksgiving, and, you know, that makes us thankful for what we have usually. I mean, at least here in the US, we have Thanksgiving. I know Canada has it in October. And I'm sure other countries have similar things. But anyway, and then, you know, the holidays, we're always giving people things and everything. But anyway, I just thought it would be fun to do something where we could be actually making a point of thinking about how we can make a little bit of a difference and have a little bit of goodness that we can give to other people just on a daily basis or a weekly basis or however, you know. It's not meant to be like a super big challenge. It's not meant to make you feel bad if you're not doing lots of other things. It's nothing like that. It's just like I explained last week. You know, we hear so many bad things, you know, you hear so much garbage going on in the world that I think it really does us all good to hear good things that happen too. And so I'm encouraging people to take part in that part of the knit along as well. It does not have to have anything to do with knitting or crafting, these random acts of kindness. It can be, you know, holding the door open for a mother who has 3 small children going into the grocery store or something, you know, whatever. Something that small. It makes a difference for somebody else. And it's something good that you're putting in their life for that moment. I just love to hear things like that. I really do, and I think maybe other people might too. So I will set up a weekly thread. The first one will start November 1st, and it'll be Saturday to Friday. There will be 9 of those. At the end of the week, I will close that thread, and then I will do a drawing. I'll post the winner on the board because I will not obviously be recording every single time I do one of those, so I don't want to wait to record to do the drawing just because it will be overlapping with upcoming drawings, if that makes any sense. It'll make more sense as we do it, I promise. It makes sense in my mind. So anyway, all of that information is in the November-December Giving KAL thread. I will start the new thread for that first 9 weeks of giving thing. I'll start that Saturday. So that will be up and ready to go as well. And obviously the KAL part, you know, there will be a no chatter thread for you to post your finished object pictures, your gift pictures, which I will use for the drawing at the very end of that, which I'm sure there will be more than one drawing. For the 9 weeks of giving, those drawings, each week the winner will have a chance to choose any pattern that I can gift to them from Ravelry, up to $6. So that's going to be the prizes for those. If you have any questions about the KAL or the random act of giving part, you know, you can post that under the Giving KAL thread or PM me, whatever's easiest, and I'll try to clarify in case it's not super clear. But I just want it to be fun and encouraging and uplifting, because I think we all need a little bit more of that in our lives personally. So the only other thing I wanted to talk to you about in the 90% section is there's some podcasts that I've started to watch. It's been a while since I've watched any new podcasts, mainly because I don't have a ton of time to watch podcasts. I just don't have as much time as I used to do that. So every once in a while I find new ones where somebody tells me about some new ones and I want to check them out. So 3 that I've watched recently. The first one was In a Snit, which is SKNIT, with Sarah and Christy. So much fun watching the 2 of them. They have several episodes out. I am not nearly caught up. I mean, I did start at the very beginning. I'll probably jump ahead and then like work back through other ones as I have time. But that's a good one to watch, the 2 of them knitting together. That's always fun. Then there's Minerva Turkey podcast. I've met her at different events. She was just at the Stockinette Zombies retreat this year whenever I was there. Or no, not Stockinette Zombies. SSK, sorry, Super Summer Knit Together. She was there. Anyway, I'm so pleased that she started a podcast too, because she's a lot of fun to listen to, and I love her purple hair. It just makes me happy and smiles. So I've only watched 1 episode of hers, I think. I may have started the second one. I can't remember now. But she's got a few episodes out, so hers is pretty new. So check that out if you want a new one to watch. And then the last one that I most recently watched was Disa's Craft Work. Now, I am friends with Disa. Well, I'm friends with her on Ravelry, but I'm friends with her on Instagram, and I always see her posting the most fabulous pictures on Instagram. She lives in Sweden. She's Swedish, and she posts the most beautiful nature-oriented pictures because she lives in an area where she can be out in nature in the woods, and you know, she's got this beautiful dog, and she posts a lot of pictures of being out in the woods with her dog and everything, and I'm just always in awe. I love her pictures. And then I found out that she has a podcast that she just started. I think she has 3 episodes up so far, and I've got to tell you, I'm smitten. I wish we were neighbors, because she would be somebody that I would want to hang out with, just because we have a lot of things in common, like that whole interest in nature and being outside and things like that, and the type of yarn she uses for her projects. And she's very multi-craftual. It's called Deese's Craft Work is the podcast, and that's also her name on Ravelry, I think. Her podcast is on YouTube. And she does an amazing work. She's very, very talented. And the fact that she's Swedish, she does the podcast in English, but she's got, you know, the Swedish accent, which I'm a sucker for foreign accents, period. I love listening to them. And in the one episode, she was talking to her dog in Swedish. And that was just, it was so much fun. I have no idea what she was saying, but it was just so much fun to listen to. So anyway, those are the 3 that I've watched recently and I've really enjoyed. So I will try to put the links for those in the show notes. I apologize, I did not get show notes up for the last episode, like I said that I would try to do. I fell down and didn't do that. But this week I will definitely try to, so I can put links in for those podcasts. Okay, that's it for 90%. 10%, let's see, firewood. Talked about cutting firewood last time. I'm still working on firewood, and hence I have poison ivy, because I'm cutting firewood in the woods down below my house. And I know from past experience, if you remember summer of 2013, I ended up with a huge patch of firewood, of poison ivy on the back of my one leg. And despite trying to treat it at home, I let it go too long. Like, I let it go for several weeks, like probably 3 or 4 weeks before I finally went and went to the doctor. I didn't wait this long. This started, I was cutting on Sunday, I guess. And then Monday, I could just see the beginning of it. And I knew what it was because it follows that. I don't know if you can see. I don't want to gross you out. I mean, it just looks red on there. You can't see the blisters, but it follows those lines. I mean, where the poison ivy hits you. I am horrible at identifying poison ivy. Even like this time of year is hard because the leaves aren't really on it. But like even in summer when it's fully leaved, I'm horrible at identifying it. I've looked at it online a million times, so I know what it supposedly looks like. Do you think I can pick it out? No, I can't. But, you know, our backyard, okay, my backyard is a hill mostly. If you've seen pictures on Instagram that I've posted, you know, you'll know there's like a flat part up at the top by our back porch, and then it's mostly a hill, and it goes down to a tree line, and then I've got woods down at the bottom of the hill where our property goes down even for, you know, into the woods. I know there's poison ivy down there. I know this from experience, and I know it's there. And I know that that area right where the woods start is an area that poison ivy likes to grow, like right at the point where a field or an open area meets the woods. So I know that's prime spot. But there's also the point that, you know, like there were dead trees down there, and there's been one that's been down for a long time, and I wanted to cut it up, so I had it for firewood this year. I'm trying to not have to buy as much firewood this year as I had to last year. I'm not sure if the cost savings monetarily will be worth the the cost of the poison ivy here, of dealing with it and the itch and everything. I don't know. I'm hopeful that now that it's out of there, and the one tree I cut down, it actually had, I now know, I didn't know it at the time, there was like this viney thing, but it was so big and thick. I mean, it was like really thick. That was actually poison ivy. I didn't know that. I didn't know that it got that big and woody looking. Now I do. So yeah, most of the bark has fallen off of that tree because that was a very, very dead tree. I know you're not supposed to burn poison ivy itself, and I've been reading about, is it safe to burn firewood that was in poison ivy or that had poison ivy growing on it? And the overwhelming thing that I'm reading is if you're burning it like in an enclosed structure, like I have a wood burning stove that closes, rather than like burning it out in the open, it's probably okay because the actual poison ivy isn't on it, because it's the oil from the plant that causes the rash if you're sensitive to it. And burning it can be really bad because then you get it in your lungs, or you can get it all over yourself depending on if you're in the fallout from the fire. So I think I'm just going to make sure that I am totally covered anytime I'm dealing with the wood. Going to make sure all the bark is off that wood, and I'm still going to use the wood because it's a lot. It was a big tree and it would be great to be able to use that. So I know I'm sort of taking a chance, but I'm really hopeful that with the precautions and the fact that, I mean, even my doctor said yesterday, because I did go to the doctor yesterday, I'm on prednisone now, which could be why I'm really babbly, because prednisone sort of makes me hyper. Gotta love it. Fun times. But she said, you know, I told her the situation, and she said it's probably going to be okay to burn that wood just because I'm not burning the actual poison ivy. So I don't know. If you guys have experience with firewood that had been in poison ivy, because that's the other thing. If you get firewood from someplace else, you have no idea where they got it from. You have no idea if it had poison ivy around it. You don't know. So, like, I'd love to hear your experiences with this. I know I don't want to end up poisoning my neighbors with it or anything from the smoke, but I'm assuming that at that point it might be okay. I don't know. Let me know what you think. If you've had any experience with this, please let me know. Otherwise, I'm going to burn that wood as safely as I possibly can. Let's see what else. TV. I was talking about TV last time, and that I've been watching Outlander. I did watch all those episodes. I've rewatched some of them, except for 2 that have a lot of Captain Jack Randall, who I really, really despise and don't like watching those episodes, so I don't watch them when I'm rewatching it. But I've watched those. I'm caught up on Doctor Who. I started watching Mike and Molly on demand, like the very first season. I think maybe it's in season 4 now or something. I don't know. It's been on for a while, so I figured if it's been around that long, it's probably funny and cute, and it is. I'm not sure I love it enough to continue watching all of the seasons, but I did watch a little bit of that. I told you I watched the first Lord of the Rings movie the other night with Christopher when he was over, which that's always fun. I love the Lord of the Rings movies. I've seen them a bazillion times, but they never get old. And my most excuse me, my most recent early morning time viewing has been the Harry Potter movies. I decided to start my own just little Harry Potter marathon. So I've gotten through the first movie and half of the second movie. So I've got them. I might as well watch them. They're fun. Okay, I think that is everything that I was going to talk to you about this week. I do have a shop segment that I'm going to do. I have one more update that I'm going to do prior to the Indie Knit and Spin show in November. That's on November 15th here in Pittsburgh. But there will be one more shop update before that, which will be on Monday, November 3rd at 3 p.m. And that will be the balance of my Christmas colorways that I'm doing. So I'm going to pause here and I will show you what's going into the shop update. And if you're not going to stick around for that, then I'll just say goodbye now and thank you for watching. And if you are going to stick around for the shop news segment, then just hang on and I'll be right back. Okay, I'm back. This is the shop news segment of the show. First thing I would like to let you know about, because I haven't mentioned it in a while, but I do have a show coming up in November here in Pittsburgh. It's called Indie Knit and Spin. Some of you have been to it before. This will be the 4th year that it has happened and the 4th year that I've vended at it. It's a wonderful little show. We've grown a little bit every year since it started. It's all indie dyers and other indie crafts persons. There's bag makers, there's soap, there's it's mostly all knitting or fiber arts related. The soap and some of the other ones are maybe a little farther out, but they're not totally unrelated. So it's just a really, really cool event. If you go to, we have a WordPress blog. I have to get those words out correctly. A WordPress blog that we've been highlighting all of the vendors that will be there. You can read about them. There's some new ones this year that are really awesome. I can't wait to see them. At any rate, that show is going to be on Saturday, November 15th. From 11 a.m. to 4 p.m. It's in the Regent Square area of Pittsburgh, which is on the east side of the city, like the Edgewood area, in the Wilkins School Community Center. We're up on the second floor, and it's like this old school building, like an elementary school kind of building. So we're up on the second floor. I think we pretty much have taken over most of the second floor at this point for the show. But I would really encourage you to come out for that. It's a really, really good indie craftsperson show, an indie crafter show. I love being a part of it, and I'm looking forward to vending. So anyway, just wanted to remind you that that's coming up. And as I said a little bit earlier, I'm doing an update on Monday. There will be a shop update Monday, November 3rd, this coming Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern. So the 3rd at 3 p.m. Eastern. That will be my last shop update until after Indie Knit and Spin, just because I really need to be focusing my dyeing on the show at that point. So, and then as always, after the show, there's the show leftovers. So that'll make for a really good update or two afterwards, probably. So stay tuned for that. But let me share with you what's going up in the shop this week. It is predominantly Christmas colorways. I put some up in the update last week. Oh, let me talk about that. The last update I did, let me just talk about that for a second. Thank you so much for your enthusiastic response to all of the new things that I put in the shop. I had the sock sets, the gradient sock sets and the color block sock sets. I had the the bulky gradients and color blocks, skeins, and I had my new colorways, Lucky Cat and Doubletree. And you guys loved Lucky Cat. You loved the sock sets. You loved the gradient, the bulky gradients. Thank you. Most of those sold out really, really quickly. And I just want to thank you for that. Because, you know, whenever you do new things as a business person, you're never exactly sure how well they're going to go over. So whenever there's an enthusiastic response, it's a lot of fun. I will be putting up more of all of that stuff. The sock sets, the bulky stuff, and the new colorways, obviously, in future updates. They won't be in this coming up update. This is pretty much all Christmas colorways, holiday colorways, some winter colorways. But after that, like after Indie Knit and Spin, you will be seeing those things again, I promise. So we'll be working on those. But anyway, on Monday at 3 p.m. Eastern, these are the things you're going to see. I've done up more of the cranberry and forest inversible sets on Bounce and Bedazzled. So there will be some more of those up for this time. And then everything else is pretty much self-striping. One of my winter colorways that you guys seem to like is Deep Blue Ice. I've got that on Bounce and Bedazzled. I've got to make sure I'm grabbing the right things, because some of them look very, very similar. Okay, this one, these are actually the same colors that are in the inversible sets. So this is the inversible version, but this is my Winterberry colorway. So it's those same two colors, but it's in full skeins, and it's called Winterberry. And this is it in the inversible version. So just so you know, since they look very much alike because they're the same colors, I just don't want you to get confused. So that's Winterberry on both Bounce and Bedazzled. Busy Little Elves, which is red and two different greens on Bounce and Bedazzled. There's Winter Garden, which is two different greens and a red. The greens are the more predominant color. The red is a smaller stripe. And that's also going to be on Bounce and Bedazzled. There's Father Christmas. This was one of my new colorways last year. This has a deep red, kind of a mahogany brown, and a green. Again, bounce and bedazzled. This is a new colorway this year, which I really, really like. It's brighter. I'm naming it Baubles at this point because it reminds me of the colors of the Christmas ornaments that I like to put on my tree, because I do a lot of the red and the green, the kind of, it's a muted green. It's not a bright, bright green. And the gold, which that's actually the same gold as my sweater. So I would coordinate nicely with this skein. But I'm calling that Baubles. B-A-U, not baubles as in bobbleheads. But anyway, right now I have 4 skeins of this on bounce. I'm going to try to get some bedazzled of it ready to go for the Monday update as well. I'm not sure why I didn't do some. Usually I do 2 bounce, 2 bedazzled. I'm not sure why I did all of this on bounce. I don't know. But anyway, there will at least be those 4 skeins. And then there will be the elves were in the eggnog, because I know a lot of you guys are still waiting for that. I can't remember. I know I've got at least 2 on bedazzled. I think there's 3 on bounce maybe because I had a special order for some. So those will be in the update. And lastly, Christmas-wise, winter-wise, is the snowman sets. This was also a new colorway last year. So you get the main skein, which is obviously white. It's got wee stripes of orange for the snowman's nose, and then red and green for his scarf, because what Christmas snowman wouldn't have a red and green scarf? And then it comes with a half skein of dark gray contrasting yarn representing his hat and his coal buttons and eyes, that you can do heels and toes with. So I have that both on bounce and on bedazzled. So there will be some of those. The other thing that's going to go up, and this is not at all holiday related or Christmas related, but I do these little mini skeins, which I don't usually just do them and put them in updates. I have them, there's a Knitter's Choice listing in the shop all the time for a custom colorway set that I started doing a couple of years ago now, I'm sure. And basically the custom colorway set gets you 4 of these little 100-yard skeins. This one is just an example. It's the buttercup yellow color. At any rate, I happen to have like a ton of these right now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put these together in grab bags. You're not going to know what colors you're going to get. It'll be a variety. It won't be like all one certain color family or anything. But I'm going to put those up in the shop in grab bag form. If you do anything, you know, where minis are preferable, like little Afghan squares or, you know, those hexapuff things or things like that, maybe that would be something that you'd like to use for that. Or if you do like little mini Christmas stockings or, you know, whatever. But I just thought since I have so many of them, this might be a fun way to get them out to you guys. So be watching for those. They will be, I think I'm probably going to do like sets of 5 in the grab bags. I'm not sure yet. And they'll be slightly discounted too. So you can watch for that listing. I just thought that might be something fun. I like doing grab baggy things myself. Sometimes with grab bags, you never know quite what you're going to get, but at least this way you know you're getting semi-solids. And I mean, who can't use semi-solids for things occasionally, right? They're kind of nice to have on hand. So anyway, that is it. That's going to be the update on Monday. And again, it will be 3 p.m. Eastern on Monday, November 3rd. I hope you find something that you'd like. So anyway, that's everything I've got for you this week. I hope you're having a really good week, and please, if you're doing the knit along, the head to toe knit along, finish on up so that you can get your picture posted, because tomorrow's your last day to knit for that. And be looking forward to the November and December knit along that I talked about earlier, the Giving KAL. And if you have questions about that or anything else from the show, please PM me or post it in the episode thread, and I will really try to put the show notes up this week, so you have those links and everything that I talked about earlier. So that's everything. Have a good weekend. I'll talk to you later. Bye-bye.